There is no doubt in your mind what motivated this attack.
I mean, who says empire, this MAGA country, ties a noose around your neck and pours bleach on you? I will never be the man that this did not happen to.
This is where we waited for Jussie to come before we attacked him.
From alleged victim to suspected criminal, today Jussie Smollett faces a felony charge of disorderly conduct.
Investigators say he is no victim and that his story is now unraveled.
Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. And I am not. If anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself. And you must all know that.
Let's get into it. We all do it. You wake up feeling off, so you start Googling symptoms. Next thing you know, you're convinced you have something like a wild vampire disease. But instead of spiraling down the "is this normal" rabbit hole, just use ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app where you can find and book top-rated in-network doctors across every specialty, from mental health to primary care to dermatology to dental and more. Just enter your insurance, location, and what you need, and instantly book an appointment that works for you. So stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Sloan to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Sloan. ZocDoc.com/Sloan. Welcome back to the Let's Get Into It podcast. Today we're doing a deep dive into Jussie Smollett. He's an actor, musician, activist, and the mastermind behind one of Hollywood's most infamous hoaxes in modern history. Back in 2019, Jussie claimed that he was the target of a hate crime, a brutal attack in the dead winter of the streets of Chicago. The details were chilling: a noose, racial slurs, a politically charged message. The world was horrified. But as the investigation unfolded, the cracks started to show. What began as a plea for justice turned into a full-blown legal circus, leading to arrests, trials, and the fall from grace that played out like a Hollywood script. So how did Jussie find himself in this position? Once a beloved actor, now a hated liar. I think we need to start from the beginning and who Jussie really is. Now, before Jussie became a well-known actor and singer, he was a child growing up in a household where activism and creativity were deeply intertwined. His mother, Janet, was a dedicated civil rights activist who instilled in her children a strong sense of advocacy, at least you would think. Here's a clip of Jussie talking a little bit about his mother.
Who was your biggest hero growing up, since it's heroes in the struggles?
Oh, it was my mom. My mom. I've never seen a stronger human being. I've never seen a stronger human being in my life than my mother. And that's, I think that as a man, it's so important to be able to say that. Like mothers, the life givers, and I really know that as a fact that I followed behind my mother for a reason. Her activism, her fearlessness, and her need, and like desperate, almost to a fault, need to change the world.
So growing up in a family where performance and activism were deeply rooted, it kind of paved the way for Jussie's career. And his career kicked off at a very young age. He started in the business as a child. Now, being born into a family of performers definitely had its win because he was connected and he knew what to do. His earliest on-screen appearances were as an extra in Spike Lee's Mo Better Blues in the early 90s. He also was featured in the crime thriller New Jack City in 1991. At 9 years old, he landed his first major role in the 1992 Disney film The Mighty Ducks, playing Terry Hall, one of the young hockey players. So you know Jussie was off to a good start if he got into the Disney family at such a young age. Let me read this article for you guys. So the Smollett family's dedication to the entertainment industry led them to move from New York City to LA when Jussie was just 7 years old. This move was pivotal, opened up more opportunities. In 1994, the Smollett children landed their own ABC sitcom, which must have been huge. It was titled On Our Own, which starred all 6 siblings, and the show followed a group of orphaned children in an effort to avoid being split up by social services. Jussie was just 12 years old at this point, and he played one of the lead roles, showcasing his ability to carry a TV show. And here's a little clip from that sitcom that they all starred in.
Start your luncheon!
Oh, chicken,
just got the beat. 7:28 in never since send the Jericho's boxing, and that's harassing us. We never miss a mustard.
Don't you mention that to me, cause I got my army to make the last of the Jericho, but it makes the amusing and quite confusing, but it's the way that we get things.
Now, despite the show doing pretty well, it only lasted one season with 20 episodes. And even though the show was off the air, it solidified their family's stance in Hollywood. Jussie actually said in response to that situation, "We've been brought up to be real strong, so nothing can take us down." Fast forward in time to 2014, Jussie landed a role that would define his career, Jamal Lyon in Fox musical drama Empire. Comment below if you guys were a big fan of Empire. I remember it was everywhere. The show was created by Lee Daniels and Danny Strong, and it followed the power struggles within the fictional Lyon family, which was like kind of give me like, what did I think of Diddy? But just a powerful family in the entertainment industry. As a talented R&B singer and songwriter, Jamal, so Jussie's character, struggled to gain his father's approval, largely due to his sexuality.
I've been so blessed and a little lucky, to be able to do certain projects that just so happen to have a musical component, particularly obviously with Empire. That was just the perfect kind of marriage of so many of my loves. Music has always been the driving force behind everything I do.
As you guys could tell, Jussie was really excited for this role, as he should be, because it made him a star. And as someone who identifies as gay, it's really nice to see actual gay people play gay roles, because it seems like anytime there's a movie about like my community, it's a straight man playing us. Now, one of the show's most groundbreaking moments came later in the seasons when Jamal married his HIV positive partner, Kai. The event marked the first black gay wedding ever shown on primetime television, a historic moment that cemented Empire's reputation. For many viewers, especially within the community, Jamal Lyon was a character they had never seen before, an openly gay black male who was at the forefront of this major drama. So a huge win for the community, right? Now, from the moment Empire was premiered in 2015, it was clear that the show was a cultural phenomenon. Its debut was Fox's highest rated premiere in 3 years. The first season averaged a staggering 17 million viewers, making it one of the biggest hits on network television. But Empire wasn't just about the ratings, because it was also a musical. So it's kind of like Glee, where people are listening to the tracks, they're watching the show. It's really a big hit for society. A lot of people are paying attention. And of course, Jussie ate this up. He loved the attention, being on a successful show and being able to showcase his music. But his happiness only lasted so long, because that's when the legal cloud, the dark cloud, was looming in. Okay, let's be real. When was the last time that you needed to see a doctor but made an excuse like, "I'm too busy, he'll heal on his own, I don't even know where to go"? Sounds familiar? Well, that's exactly why you need ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app that makes finding and booking top-rated in-network doctors ridiculously easy. No more guessing, no more waiting 6 months for an appointment. Just search, compare, and instantly book from over 100,000 doctors across every specialty: mental health, dental, urgent care, primary care, and more. Whatever you need. And here's the best part: appointments happen fast, usually within 24 to 72 hours, and sometimes even same day. You can filter by location, insurance, and patient ratings to make sure you get the best fit. You guys know we only like the best on the Let's Get Into It podcast. So stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Sloan to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Sloan. ZocDoc.com/Sloan. So let's talk about Jussie and his legal struggles. This headline reads, Empire actor Jussie Smollett pled guilty to DUI, providing false information to law enforcement in 2007. So I'm taking you guys all the way back to 2007. He was arrested in LA for driving under the influence, which shame on you. I'm so tired of people driving under the influence. He ultimately pled no contest to the charges of DUI, driving without a license, and lying to law enforcement about it. He got 2 years of probation and a choice between a fine or jail time.
What happened in Los Angeles back in 2007, Smollett was pulled over on suspicion of a DUI, and that's when he gave police a false name. So he allegedly gave them the name of his brother, Jack Smollett. Now, that led him to be charged with impersonation, but court records show, moving on and later on, he pleaded no contest so that he could get a reduced charge to several charges from that DUI incident, including providing false information to authorities.
Now, the DUI, it's not a great look, but it's not going to ruin your career. I mean, we saw what Justin Timberlake did when he got his. I mean, the world tour continued, but it was the event in 2019 that really screwed up Jussie. Let me take you back to January 22nd, 2019. Jussie received a letter with racist and homophobic messaging and white powder, which was eventually determined to be aspirin. The letter is a combination of magazine lettering and hand-drawn illustrations. So this already sounds like a crime novel. You've got your letter with the white powder and your cutout magazine notes because you don't want them to know your handwriting. Now, I would have been freaked out by this letter. Granted, I probably would have gone to social media because I go to you guys with everything and I'm like, look what I was sent, like, just in case I die. But I feel like Jussie handled it a little bit suspiciously. A day later, he posted a selfie on Instagram with the caption, "Ever look at someone and think this mother effa is going to be the reason I go to jail?" But that letter wasn't just it, because in the early hours of January 29th, 2019, Jussie reported to Chicago police that he had been attacked by two men who hurled racist and homophobic slurs at him. He claimed that they poured an unknown substance on him, placed a noose around his neck, and yelled, "This is MAGA country." The allegation sparked outrage across the nation, with celebrities, politicians, and activists all condemning this situation. Even the president at the time, and I guess the current president, Trump, said that the attack was horrible. So everyone was paying attention, and the actor told police that they yelled at him that he's an empire F word, the empire N word, while striking him before putting the noose around his neck. Police were called 30 to 40 minutes after the attack, which I don't know if he was not conscious? I mean, I don't know. I would be calling as the attack is happening.
And there is no doubt in your mind what motivated this attack.
I can only go off of their words. I mean, who says empire, this MAGA country, ties a noose around your neck and pours bleach on you? I will never be the man that this did not happen to.
Now, because this made national news, I mean, even the president is talking about it, Chicago police launched an investigation, collecting Jussie's sweater and the rope as evidence. Surveillance footage later showed Jussie entering a Lowe's store after the alleged attack with what appeared to be the noose around his neck still. That's interesting. So you would go into the store with it still around your neck? The day after the incident, authorities released images of two potential persons of interest captured on surveillance cameras. Now, of course, the entire cast of Empire was so upset. They were distraught. I mean, how could this happen to one of our fellow castmates? With Lee Daniels posting on Instagram, "We have to love each other regardless of our orientation." And it shows that we are a united front, and saying, "No racist F can come in and do those things they did to you. Hold your head up, Jussie." And as you guys saw, he did his Good Morning America interview, which I question how much he was paid for that, where he said that this incident forever changed him and that he was pissed off. Now, Jussie got a couple of weeks of praise before people started to poke holes into his story. Now, on February 11th, 2019, though there had been some social media detractors from the start, the first substantial doubt on his case that this incident had happened came on February 11th from neighbors who lived in the community and cited with the general climate of the neighborhood and its occupants as a reason to be skeptical that this kind of stuff doesn't really happen around here. Chicago police said the same thing, that like this was a really crazy crime and it shouldn't have happened in this neighborhood, which I feel like it shouldn't happen anywhere. But you know, I get what they're saying. Though the police were trying to side with Jussie and say, you know, we don't have any reason to suspect that he would make this up.
The vast majority of people have been supportive. And then as time has gone on, you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to Subway, Sub-Zero.
Subway is open 24 hours. Like, people kill me when they say things like that, because it's like Subway is open 24 hours for a reason. So that when you're hungry at night and you ain't got no food, you go to Subway. It feels like if I had said it was a Muslim or a Mexican or someone black, I feel like the doubters would have supported me a lot much more. And that says a lot about the place that we are in our country right now.
It's kind of hard to watch those interviews because you've got to keep in mind he is an actor. In the same window, Chicago police discovered that the rope that was used in the attack was actually purchased by two brothers at the hardware store in the Ravenswood neighborhood. This was the same time that the police were still working with Jussie to obtain his phone records from his manager with whom Jussie claimed he was on the phone with at the time of the attack. They were turned over on February 5th, but until February 11th, Jussie had not turned over his own phone records. The police ultimately rejected those heavily redacted records, which he provided provided. So I guess he did give them records, but then he edited them. Jussie defended the records he provided, saying that they were redacted to protect the privacy of his contacts. And I can understand if he doesn't want, some famous people to have their phone numbers leaked, but I also don't think the Chicago PD are interested in Lee Daniels' number.
They wanted me to give my phone to the tech for 3 to 4 hours. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that.
Why?
Because I have my castmates' number, my friends' numbers, my private emails, my private songs, my private voice memos. I don't know what that's gonna be to hand over my phone.
Now, it was February 13th when two Nigerian brothers by the name of, I'm gonna butcher this, Ola Benijo and Amba Ola were picked up at the airport as potential suspects. One of the men had actually previously worked on the Empire show. Interesting. Days later, the brothers confessed that Jussie had orchestrated the attack, paying them $3,500 to stage it. Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson accused Jussie of manipulating the public outrage over racism and homophobia to boost his career. Authorities uncovered text messages, surveillance video, and phone records showing Jussie's communications with the brothers before and after the attack. Investigators also revealed that Jussie had previously attempted to gain attention by mailing a false letter to the Empire set, complete with the racial and homophobic slurs. When the letter failed to generate the reaction he had hoped for, police claimed that he moved forward with another staged attack. Now, with so much hate all over the world, I'm personally offended that he would do this because there are so many people who actually have cases out there, and the fact that he created it just to get attention just shows how privileged he really is. And thankfully, these brothers, they're happy to speak out. They've even done interviews where they've talked about their parts in the incident, putting all the blame on Jussie.
This is where we waited for Jussie to come before we attacked him. After I threw him to the ground, I used my knuckle and gave him a noogie to give him a mark to make it look real.
That's where I came around with the bleach, the infamous bleach in the hot sauce bottle.
Security video from a beauty shop captured the brothers buying ski masks and a red hat the day before the incident at Smollett's request, they say.
I can't imagine organizing a crime like this, but imagine if you did and the people that you organized it with just went off and told everyone your plan. I mean, it really just ruined Jussie's reputation. On February 20th, 2019, he was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct for filing a false police report. He was released on bond the same day and insisted he was telling the truth. Now, how delusional do you have to be? I mean, the brothers have come forward. There's so much evidence against him. He's truly just delusional. I mean, no one would believe you. Now, because the police caught him lying, they decided to dig up his 2007 arrest to just kind of paint this picture of who this kid could be. Remember, he got in trouble for lying during that arrest as well. Now, after being released on bond, I think Jussie realized that he's in deep, so he decided to turn himself in. So it looks like the brothers were no longer considered suspects because details of both that letter and the attack came out. And it looks like they even practiced this attack together before it went down. So Jussie really thought he did his big one. He was indicted for filing a false police report, which is a felony disorderly conduct. On February 21st, he turned himself into police after spending that bond to get out. So it's an expensive incident. And it makes me question, what is his mental health issues? I mean, is he so narcissistic and egotistical that he just needed that attention?
Jussie Smollett in custody and under arrest just minutes ago. Police released his mugshot. Here it is. In just a short time from now, he'll be in front of a judge for a bond hearing. Investigators say he is no victim and that his story is now unraveling.
Remember, Donald Trump actually said that this attack was horrible. Well, he actually went back on his first comment and said, Jussie Smollett, what about MAGA and the tens of millions of people you insulted with your racist and dangerous comments? You know, it's getting messy when the politicians get involved.
Me off to the narcissism is when he's looking at Robin Robertson, he says,
And I want a little gay boy who might watch this to see that I fought back.
I mean, what delusions of grandeur, right? I mean, he is creating this entire fantasy where he is the hero in it.
Now, when it came to the show, it turns out that Fox had enough of Jussie, and they decided that he didn't need to come back to work. They're going to go ahead and film these episodes without him. And honestly, at this point, I would blame him for the fact that the show was not renewed. The check that was originally used as evidence against Jussie was revealed to have allegedly been used as payment for training sessions, not as a hoax money. The check was corroborated with text messages about workouts and eating plans that Jussie exchanged with the brothers. Wait, okay, so now Jussie is coming up with his his new narrative that, oh, I did pay the brothers for a workout and nutrition package, not for attacking me. That is BS that nobody is buying. But in March, Jussie got some good news. On March 8th, 2019, Jussie was indicted on 16 felony counts of disorderly conduct. Days later, he pled not guilty. Then, in a move that stunned both the public and law enforcement, prosecutors dropped all charges against him on March 26, 2019. Cook County State Attorney's Office provided little explanation, citing that Jussie's community service and agreement to forfeit his $10,000 bond as reasons for the dismissal. City officials were not happy. The Chicago mayor actually said it was a whitewash of justice. They claimed that Jussie was receiving special treatment because he was a celebrity and should go to prison for what he had done. The city actually ended up suing Jussie for more than $130,000 to recover the costs that they had spent investigating his fake crime. This is when Chicago police decided to release body cam footage showing Jussie with the noose still around his neck on the night of the incident. Authorities also obtained a court order requiring Google to turn over a year's worth of Jussie's search history so they could see if he was looking up how to plan this fake attack. Now, because Jussie does come from money, he's got some great lawyers, which is probably where this nutrition plan and these exercises came about. Oh, that's why he paid them $3,500, not to falsely attack him. But it wasn't long until Jussie found himself in trouble again. Now, this is a year later, in February 2020, a grand jury re-indicted him on 6 counts of disorderly conduct for making this false police report. Special prosecutor, I don't like that title, special prosecutor, go get him, Dan Webb, determined that the initial case had been mishandled and argued that the evidence against Jussie was overwhelming. Jussie's legal team denounced the new charges, calling them politically motivated. Now, trial took a long time and it did not go in Jussie's favor. In March 2022, Jussie was sentenced to 150 days in jail, 30 months of probation, and ordered to pay over $120,000 in restitution, along with a $25,000 fine, so he's about to go broke. As he was led away in handcuffs, he shouted in the courtroom, "I am not suicidal." So he did not want to take his own life in case, I guess, he thought he was going to be unalived while in jail. Here's a clip from the court hearing of his trial.
Okay, I'm not. Okay, I am not. I am innocent, and I'm not. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this, and I am not. And if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself, and you must all know that.
What a dramatic way to go. I mean, it must have been intense in that courtroom. But Jussie must have the best luck ever. Like, what is going on here? Because just as it seemed like they were in their final chapter, it turns out that the Illinois Supreme Court overturned his conviction in November 2024. The ruling determined that Jussie's 2019 deal with prosecutors when he forfeited his bond and completed his community service should have prevented further charges. Jussie and his legal team celebrated the decision. So, of course, they're going to be happy because he doesn't have to pay all that money back. Here's a news clip of reporters talking about Jussie's big win.
Here with us is Smollett's attorney, Tina Glandian. Thank you so much for being here with us. Can you break down for us exactly what happened here and the court's decision?
Sure. So it's actually a really basic premise, which is that when the initial 16-count indictment was filed, a few weeks after that, after some negotiations with the state attorney's office, we came to an agreement that they would be dismissing the charges against him in exchange for him forfeiting his $10,000 bond and satisfying the state's attorney's office as to community service, which he had always done it but kept doing. The charges were dismissed. There was a dissatisfied, concerned citizen who petitioned the court and requested the appointment of a special prosecutor, which is highly unusual under the facts, of a case like this. But that was granted, and a special prosecutor was appointed. Ultimately indicted Jussie again, and we've been protesting this from day one, saying the second prosecution is completely illegal. It violates numerous constitutional provisions, and we've been fighting this. We've raised this numerous times before various courts, and finally yesterday the Supreme Court of Illinois agreed with us and said the second prosecution was barred because there was an agreement in place and the state is bound to honor its word.
Now that you guys understand this scandal from February 2019 to November 2024, I want to talk about the consequences. Oh my gosh, consequences, Sloan. There's consequences to our actions. Hell yeah, there are. The scandal surrounding Jussie's alleged hate crime hoax had a profound effect on his career. As we all know, he played Jamal Lyon in Empire, and that was through. He was swiftly written out of the final episodes of the 5th season, and a clear indication from the show producers that they no longer wanted to continue this series. And of course, the sources went to the media to tell us all about how his career has fumbled. Nearly 6 years after staging a racist and homophobic attack on himself, which I questioned, so is he innocent? Because in November 2024, they overturned the ruling. I mean, at this point, I think it's clear that he's guilty. Sources claim that he is trying to rebuild his career in Hollywood. However, according to experts, the 42-year-old actor who has recently returned to the silver screen in his new movie, The Lost Holiday, has not only hit rock bottom as far as his professional career goes, but he's also acquired a new level of what a lawyer called delusional in his effort to maintain his innocence. So it seems like this guy, he literally believes his own lie. I mean, comment below. I know you guys know someone who lies so much that they end up convincing themselves of that lie. Is that like a phenomenon? Comment below. Is there like a term for that? Quote, he's already hit rock bottom. It's going to take a while until he could push off the floor and really start swimming back to the surface. That said, you can either give up or float to the top, or you could swim against the current back to the top. However, your career has only a pulse in one of those two scenarios. They say, quote, it's possible that Jussie may have always been viewed as a liar. The real question is whether his career will recover in spite of it. I mean, there are tons of nasties out here who thrive in Hollywood, so maybe Jussie has a seat at the table. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, Jussie maintained his innocence, saying, I want to have all these things in my life, and I don't want to have a felony on my record for something I didn't do. So then, if the brothers didn't attack you, who attacked you? There's a big gap in this story, and it's gonna bother me. Quote, that's what we're fighting for, he said. I know that on the surface, it probably seems like, why doesn't he just serve the time? Why doesn't he just let this go? He says, it would be easier. In fact, if I had done it that way, I wouldn't have spent almost $3 million of my own money. Here's an updated interview with Jussie on this matter.
You know there are going to be people, they're going to say, why should I give him a second chance? Why do I want to listen to what he has to say?
I've stood by, not my truth, but the truth the entire time for almost 6 years. I haven't switched my story up. Everyone else in the situation, every single person has changed their story numerous times. So I don't really know what else to say about that. People tend to think that I somehow fooled them when in actuality it was the other way around. Everyone else fooled them.
Retired Chief of Detectives Gene Roy said Jussie is absolutely correct when he claims that his story has never changed. But the problem is that his story was false from the word go. His story didn't change, but the diligent investigation by the Chicago Police Department uncovered the facts, and the facts are what matters. So whether you convinced yourself you didn't do this or not, we know better. And of course, this has led to a tarnished reputation. Whether Jussie can accept that he lied or not, no one believes him, and everyone in Hollywood doesn't want. It reminds me of like high school. Like imagine like Hollywood as the cafeteria. It really is like this, especially Runyon Canyon, the hike, and you have all the tables with the popular kids, and no one wants you to sit there. That is Jussie. Nobody wants you near their set, their production company, nothing.
People just don't know me.
Yeah.
I want to adopt a kid, and I don't want to have a felony on my record for something that I didn't do. You know, so that's what we're fighting for. It would be easier if I had in fact done this to say that I did it. I wouldn't have spent almost $3 million of my own money. I would not have had a trial. No matter how much people are yelling in my face saying, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar. No, I'm not.
I don't know why, but I just can't believe a word out of that man's mouth. Actually, I think I do know why. This podcast episode. Jussie went from being seen as a victim of a hate crime to widely perceived as a symbol of deception and privilege. The backlash was severe, with some viewing him as someone who played an exploited social justice movement for personal gain. And because Jussie just can't seem to get it right, he ended up going to rehab. This article claims that Jussie had turned to rehab to help him deal with how life has been the last few years. Quote, Jussie has had an extremely difficult past few years. He has quietly been working very hard for some time, and now we're very proud of him for taking these next steps. It looks like it isn't a live-in facility, but he will be working on himself while at home as well, not planning any other attacks. Now, in his interview with Entertainment Tonight, he did talk about his use of drugs and saying that he's taking responsibility for that, which okay, I understand you're taking responsibility for that, but does that, like, in turn also, is that responsible for why you staged that attack? Like, were you on drugs? I mean, I can't imagine being on drugs and doing this because, I mean, don't drugs just make you like all woozy and whatever? It was very calculated what he had done. So I still feel like he's in some really mentally ill place.
I'm okay with accepting responsibility for things that I've actually done. I'm just not okay with accepting responsibility for something that I did not do.
What are those things you've taken responsibility for?
Oh my gosh, substance abuse. You know, that sort of came to light.
You were a loose cannon at some time.
I was
reckless at some time.
I absolutely was reckless.
Now, as you guys saw earlier in this episode, we had a clip from the brothers who made a documentary about this attack. It's a 5-part story in which they titled it Jussie Smollett, Anatomy of a Hoax. And what's crazy is that Fox produced this documentary. So the same company that did the Empire show did the documentary against one of their leading stars. They said, we made sure we got there at 2 a.m. sharp. We had no phones because he did not want us to bring any phones. So at 2 a.m. he was nowhere to be found. There was no one there. So we're like, damn, what do? We didn't have any way of contacting him and he couldn't contact us, so we waited for about 4 minutes. The brothers mentioned that they were stuck in the cold for a while before Jussie had showed up. They also had to recite particular words before the assault. As we crossed the street, we had to say hey to get his attention. Hey, N-word. He turned around, looked at us, and that's when we started yelling the famous slurs he wanted us to use about him being on the Empire show.
It was a crazy scene that Jussie put on. He even said,
I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I have been accused of.
I'm like, dang, you ain't your mother's son, buddy.
Jussie was someone who could really help their career. And beyond that, he was their friend. The documentary goes into great lengths about their feelings and how they felt when Jussie asked them to beat him up.
It's sick how Jussie had so many instructions for these guys. Like, he even wanted to make it seem like he fought back a little bit in case cameras caught it. So this entire situation is just so effed up. And beyond Jussie's career, it also has implications on victims out there who actually experience hate crimes. Actually, there's a music producer who I live near, and I'm not going to say his name because whatever, TMI, but he was brutally attacked in West Hollywood by 2 guys and actually beaten up. And it makes me sick because there are people who are experiencing this and we need to talk about these situations, but Jussie is not one of them. And for anybody that finds themselves in this position, which I doubt you guys will, I love my viewers, but if you were to ever, I mean, really think of this story and the implications of lying. One lie can snowball into another one. And I think that there's a lot of self-reflection that needs to happen here, because what is he getting out of staging these things or these attacks that he's not getting at home? It's weird. It's weird behavior. But thank you guys for tuning into this podcast episode. I love you all so much. Let me know what you want me to dive into next. My email is sloanwellknown@gmail.com. I'm happy to dive into anything. Again, thank you for watching this episode. I'm currently in Florida, which is why my studio looks a little bit differently. But, you know, it doesn't matter. You and I are here. We've got the story. We've got the receipts. Everything's still the same. And I will be back in my studio in a couple weeks. But I love you guys, and I'll see you in next week's episode. Bye, guys.